This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and today we're in California. I am here with Business Power Tools. Since 1989, they have helped companies take the guesswork out of growing your business while providing tools that accelerate your success. I am joined here with the author, founder, and CEO, Burke Franklin. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Hi, Gary. My pleasure, man. Good to be here.
I'm going to start off a little bit about yourself. You're formerly educated at UC Santa Barbara. You've gone on to be known as the man who's helped launch 1 million businesses. I mean, this all began for you by inventing business planning software back in 1988. You and your team, really your entire team understands the challenges in building a business to offer something great to the world. So share with me a little bit how this passion for helping entrepreneurs begin for you.
Well, when I was a kid, I would read Popular Science and Popular Mechanics magazines, and I'd see these amazing inventions. And these guys came up with these things. And of course, the one that struck me was the 200 mile per gallon carburetor. So that tells you how far back that goes. And you wonder, what happened to the 200 mile per gallon carburetor? It existed, apparently. A conspiracy theory. Otherwise, you can imagine why that isn't around. But more concerning to me is, why aren't we getting 200 miles per gallon today? And so I just was always fascinated with these inventions. And I think to myself, well, how come this isn't a business? This guy who invented this carburetor should be flying around the world in his Learjet with this big company, but it's not. And so I've always wondered, how can I help people with these inventions, turn them into businesses?
That is excellent. So not only helping entrepreneurs, you're an entrepreneur yourself, basically. When I built my company, my first company back in the 90s, software tools that I used were purchased at a big box store, really on a CD. Have business power tools evolved and advanced today? Define for me business power tools, what that is today to you.
Well, it started out, you said CDs, we started out with the floppy disks, a variety of floppy disks even before that, and they were in the big boxes. So it started with the business plan. And because I was helping people, when I went to UC Santa Barbara, majored in electrical engineering, then mechanical engineering, then ended up in business. I worked for Texas Instruments. Then I worked for the Sharper Image Catalog as the electronics buyer. And then from there, I discovered a word processor that I sold to enterprises in Silicon Valley. And after PCs and Macs came out, there I was, the word processors went away. But, I was helping people in Silicon Valley build brochures, catalogs, all that kind of stuff. And a friend called up and he said, I got a deal going with Apple. They want to buy my engineering software. They didn't want to buy his company, they wanted his product. And at the time, the SBA, the Small Business Administration, had done a survey or study of 26,000 businesses that failed and found that 65% of them had no business plan. So the Apple wanted to see his business plan because they needed him to stay in business to develop and support the product. So he called me up and said, help, And so taking what I learned from, TI, the Sharper Image and direct response marketing, selling word processors to enterprises, I put together what I didn't know anything about business plans at the time, but I thought of it kind of as a catalog of all the answers that Apple management would want to know about his business. And I learned about business plans at the same time. He got the deal. And I was helping people with business plans over the next year or so, just make sense. They had some great ideas. They weren't quite 200 mile per gallon carburetors, but they were in that sweet spot of, this is a great business idea. You got to get this thing funded. How can I help you? Well, so I helped them with their business plans, and really every one of them got funded, except one guy, but he had made some other mistakes. But anyway, a year into this thing, I'm thinking, I could help a lot more people. I can't do this fast enough on my own. Plus, I thought, what if I wanted to have the ultimate business plan for myself? If I came up with the big idea, I'd need a business plan too. So I want the ultimate business plan for myself. Why don't I just take all this content I've developed for these clients and make a template that I could use? And all of a sudden it dawned on me, hey, this is the product, And so I started selling it, classified ads. People would call me up at 5 a.m. I'd wake up out of, and they'd want to buy it. Ultimately got into a box, got it into the stores. Then we added, a whole bunch of other products to it. And then I'm leaping ahead 10, 20 years. I always wanted to have some kind of dashboard that all the products would work together. Well, into the internet, and then we ended up making this dashboard online where everything works alike, works together. Doesn't matter whether you're Windows or Mac, whatever, it just works. You could collaborate, all that in there. And so I can help people with business plans real time, but they can do it themselves. They get consultants to do it with them. It's all that. So really, I think I'm helping people like the million businesses. We have sold several million copies. So if they all used it and started a business, that statement's true.
Everything you learned in the past roll into one. I mean, before we jump into your easy to use tool selection, let's first explain the alternative. Paying consultants big money, shelling out high hourly rates, outsourcing this stuff to consultants. Is that the only option that many of these businesses believe they have?
Well, I mean, the consultants are certainly, these guys know what they're doing. They can introduce you to the investors. So I love the consultants, and that's where I think I can help the consultants do more business plans for more entrepreneurs. But the real alternative is really not doing it at all. Because a lot of people think, well, I'm not a startup. I don't need a business plan. I'm not looking for money. But I think that's a catastrophic mistake, because that SBA study, that wasn't just startups that failed. That was 65% of all businesses that failed. Yep. And so you think about the number of places to use a business plan from, I'd say, from startup to selling your business. Sure, do you need to raise capital? I would advocate that do as much as you can without raising money, because you may not need to. There's a number of businesses that did great without raising outside capital. So it isn't about raising outside capital, but if you need it and you really want to do it, you got to explain to the people who are going to give you millions of dollars, why, how this is going to work. And so, and oftentimes these guys know more about your industry than you do, because they've been investing in it longer than you've been in business. And I was sitting next to one investor one time and I asked him, do you really still read business plans? He goes, hell yeah, I read business plans. I want to know what you know, because they're betting on the jockey, not the horse. So they want to know, and they want to know why you're going to get back on the horse after you've fallen off 100 times, which I can attest to. So the part of it is not doing a business plan at all. It's just because they're either lazy, because they don't know how, and it's hard, and there's a lot to it. There's a lot of moving parts in a business, because they're complex, they're complicated, And so they could read books, they could take seminars. There are some templates out there. The SBA's got a template, SCORE has a template, but they're pretty much blank sheets of paper that say, describe your business here. And now what? They don't know what to say or how to say it. And having this template I put together gives you something to start with, so you know what to say and how to say it. Yeah. You get an idea what the investor is looking for, but at the same time, hey, I'm going to hire you to come work at my company. How do I onboard you? Well, here's the plan. Here's what we're doing. You're the new engineer. You're the new marketing guy. You're the new sales guy. You need to know, what problem are we solving? Who's got it? How many of them are there? Why do they buy from us? All that.
I mean, people out there, so basically people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan, and they fail to take that first step. I mean, your solution eliminates many of those high fees, having to go out there, and by allowing companies to easily build, modify, and collaborate their ideas and projects. All this is done on their own with your tools. I mean, that's got to be pretty powerful to hand that over to a company and let them really go at their own pace.
They can do it. They can do a lot of it. And they really, you have to read your business plan. You can't just turn it over to an AI and say, tell me about how this compares with it. The AI doesn't know. It makes stuff up. And the investors can see all these flowery words, but there's no specifics. They want specifics. They want you need to think through your business. And if you do use AI, you please, for God's sake, edit the document. You've got to proofread the document. I get emails that are horribly written because nobody proofread them. Anyway, that aside, you really need to understand your own business. It's your company. You need to understand how the moving parts work. And some people just blast off and go off in a direction. And here's another thing that doesn't really cross many people's minds. If you and I are starting a business, and my attorney in Silicon Valley told me one day, he says, look, Burke, you got to design a company where everybody gets rich the same way. So if you and I wanted to buy a building, let's say we're going to fix it up, we're all excited about it, but I want to sell it and you want to lease it, we got a problem. We have a conflict of interest there. What happens in the planning phase is, on paper, people have all these different ideas, but once it gets down into a contract or a plan, or it's written down, now it smokes out the truth, because you don't want your name on something that you don't believe in or can't do. And so if you're going to put this into the plan, it's going to smoke out the differences. It's much easier to work out the differences and differences of opinion in the planning stage than it is to do it when you're spending money. As Buckminster Fuller said many years ago, a mistake in the plan requires an eraser. A mistake in the field requires a checkbook. And so talk about saving money. The planning is really crucial. And I just, and I believe me, I come from hating to plan. I'm like bright, shiny objects. I want to go down the road, just blast off, do it myself, but once you get something complicated going and money is being spent and you got people working together, it's like a football play. You got to call a play and everybody needs to know what to do.
Wow. I mean, simply put, these are problem-solving tools that you have expanded, updated, and you've integrated all into an intuitive dashboard online. I mean, these can be accessed and shared 24/7, pretty much any time. Is that right?
Yep. That's easy enough. Yeah. Everything, they all work alike. They work together. So your company name is going to show up everywhere in the right place. Certain shared data is going to show up everywhere in the right place. We really try to eliminate as much typing, try to make it easy as possible. Like in the employee handbook, when I'm in California, the employee handbook's got more than 200 policies in it, which is, I'll be the first to say it's arguably insane. But you look at it and go, which one are you going to take out? Not many. But the idea is you can, and it says what we've done differently. I like to think that we've added a lot of emotional intelligence to the whole process as well. So it isn't just draconian legalese. We added please and thank you 150 places at least in the employee handbook. And so we're treating people with respect. They're not animals. They're not children. They're not slave labor. They're humans who are happy to come to work and work with you and build this business. Treat them well and respect them. And show it in all your documentation.
Very much needed in small business today. That always goes on the back burner when it really should be on the front. I mean, let's touch on some of these templates you've created. For those just starting out their business journey, like you say, the business plan is everything. What will they find in that business plan builder? What kind of happens at that stage?
Well, it's all the sections of a business plan. So you start out with, okay, what problem do we solve? Like, I have a problem. I need to solve this problem. Okay, so who else has the problem? How many of them are there? What are they doing right now that they're doing to solve the problem? Kind of where we started this conversation. What's it costing? What would be worth to solve this problem a better way? So what would they be willing to pay for my thing? Who else is doing this? How does the thing work? Who's running this company? What's their background? And you could invent a product that's never seen light of day on this planet. But if you have the different people together, like take a Tesla, somebody knows batteries, somebody knows cars, somebody knows electronics. You can put those people together and build something like an electric car like that makes sense. And so you want to show anybody, well, for yourself, first of all, you assemble, I'm missing a person. I need a team player over in this spot here. And who do they need to be? And you can really sort these things out. And then before you start spending money, because it's going to cost a lot of money to put a lot of these things together. And if you, like I said, if you want an investor, the investor needs to understand, how does this going to work from start to finish? They want to know, because a chain is as strong as its weakest link. And so you can't have any broken links in this thing. And so you want to show that you can see light at the end of the tunnel. I'm mixing metaphors like crazy, but lights at the end of the tunnel. How are you going to get there from here? And so that's really what they want to see. And they want to see numbers. They want to see, that's the other thing we didn't talk about yet, is there's financial models that do the math you just can't do in your head. And you really want to, and you don't have to be a CPA or a finance magician. Wow. You can just fill in the number. That's what we made it. I made it for myself because I'm more of a right brain. Like, how does this add up? I want to show this number goes here because it builds this number, builds this number, builds this number. And it ends up at the end of the day, what it I really realized one day is that it all boils down to one number. And that's the valuation. That's what everybody wants to know. What's this thing worth? Yep. Is it worth doing? Is it worth funding? What am I going to make if I invest in it? What am I going to make if I build this business? It needs to be worthwhile.
So definitely critical when you're talking about SBA lenders, investors. I mean, building your business with clarity, purpose, and direction. Obviously never been easier. What about those folks out there, the business owners that maybe have the business in place already? They just need to increase their revenue. Can your marketing builder help them develop a go-to, really a market roadmap for them?
Yeah, well, the marketing part expands on the business plan, but the idea is fundamentally just expanding on really, okay, who's got the problem? Really thinking about, okay, people got the problem. Where might I advertise to people who have this problem? So there's a lot of things. It's a number of moving parts in there, but the idea is to really sort out all the options, because it's so easy to think, oh, I'm going to do all social media. I'm going to do all direct mail. I'm going to do all email. And you really don't want to do all of any one thing. You want to do a mix. but you also want to sort and select. We've got different spreadsheets to analyze and help you figure out like what would be the priority here? Even which product should I develop next? Which country should I export to first if I'm going to do that? But which media should we advertise and promote in? And how much do we want to invest in it? I hate it when I hear people calling it an ad spend. It's an ad investment. And spend means the money went out the window. Investment means I made money back, more money back on it, ideally.
Absolutely.
And so you want to analyze what's the response going to be on different kinds of marketing. And you want to be sure that your marketing is consistent across all the channels. Like the logo looks the same on everything. That sounds ridiculously simple, but it's amazing how people do things differently in different places because you just can't fracture yourself. You want to be focused on how you present yourself, you present your business and your offer, and people see that the same way. So the marketing plan helps you think that through. Again, it's a lot of money to invest there when you get going with it. You want to get that right.
Excellent. I mean, obviously, nothing more important than clarifying your mission to the public. I mean, these tools have been trusted by 2 million plus entrepreneurs out there. I mean, this has been proven for nearly almost close to 4 decades now. That's quite amazing. Are people pretty amazed at what you created way in the past? You keep evolving, and it really pertains to business today as well.
Well, yeah, it's always interesting when someone calls up out of the 90s and said, yeah, I used your business plan back in the 90s. In fact, I still have the box, and they laugh and we laugh about it and they want the new version. Of course, it's evolved over the years and we've evolved through a number of things from the dot-com crash, the real estate crash, to the COVID crash, to whatever else, all these other things that go on and cycles of things. And the good news is, I mean, this stuff it's evergreen. You still need a business plan. It's just a matter of what's the most economical, efficient way to put something together that an investor will read. And if it's all BS, you can't, okay, we BS'd our way through papers in school and teachers' assistants in a hurry to meet their friends for a beer are going to go, yeah, hey, investors are smart. They know your business and you're asking them to write a big check. They do not want BS your way through a document. They want details.
I mean, that was real easy back in high school, okay? The teacher got paid either way, so she really didn't care that much. That investor, he's not going to get paid. He's going to lose a lot of money. I mean, we've touched on a few of those builder tools, but really, I mean, you've covered the essentials, like policies and procedures, contracts, even OSHA compliance. What has been some of the feedback? I mean, are users kind of surprised how easy and economical it is to involve and collaborate really with their entire team? I mean, we're talking a dollar per member here.
Well, yeah, the additional members are, it starts out at, don't let the low price fool you. It's not $1 per member. It's the add-on members is, but yeah, the idea, I've had a number of people who've, even Michael Gerber, the E-Myth author, famous Michael Gerber, took a look at it and said, wow, this is like an encyclopedia of everything you need to know about your business, but we're afraid to ask. So, and then there's a venture capitalist who says, finally, I've got a financial model I can believe, and I want people to use it because it helps them understand that I can get something that's useful and consistent, so they can see, and consultants like something like it because they could manage a number of clients with the same platform. And each client needs their own subscription because all that information is theirs and it goes in it. But if the consultant can start them out with a business plan and then roll them into getting everything built as well. And they love that because it just makes life so much easier. And also it's stuff that the consultant really probably doesn't do. But every consultant, I should say most consultants I've talked to, but in my case, every consultant I've talked to has said, they got to have a business plan. I wish they had a business plan. Right? I really can't help them write the business plan. I mean, I could coach them through it, which is what they can do now with this platform. But they really need that plan. So if the consultant works with them on it, the consultant basically can bake themselves into a relationship indefinitely because they can keep helping them with all this stuff going forward, and they know how the business works. And so it's just the synergistic, keeps on rolling forward, and one guy sold this chain of theaters for $75 million. Other people, they have all kinds of. My favorite story is where one guy he went out. He wanted to raise capital to buy a Learjet to start a jet charter service. Well, that's not the kind of investment that most investors are going to make. They're going to buy a jet for themselves. But he found a gentleman who owned two Learjets, He had him in a leaseback program with somebody else. My guy convinced him that he had a better plan, could make him more money with his jets. So long story short, with a business plan and a few weeks of effort, he got 2 Learjets for nothing.
I mean, one thing I was surprised with from myself, being a professional in the media and understanding the power of PR for business, I was impressed to even see a builder on PR and publicity. I mean, that was a kind of a cool thing to see that I haven't seen across the board when I've seen companies like this. I mean, let's face it, this is not only beneficial today in running your business, but a business with all these areas clearly spelled out makes the business more valuable. I mean, when it comes to selling and the exit plan, I mean, this is kind of forward thinking to the future, I would say.
Well, yeah, you talk to a business broker, and I've talked to a number of them because we started out really ostensibly for startups. And now you add on the baby boomers selling their businesses. There's a whole bunch of these people. And, really takes the brokers I talk to saying, the really tragic thing is that most businesses are unsellable or they're a train wreck behind the scenes. And if you put together your business plan, first of all, that's your brochure to sell this business. So somebody coming along thinking about buying it thinks, whoa, this is like the owner's manual that comes with it. And so you can also, this comes back to that valuation number as well. You can see how you arrive at this valuation. So you really can validate a higher price. And I say you can sell your business faster at a higher price. That alone is worth doing the whole thing. And the broker's not going to do this for you. But it's like if a realtor was going to sell your house, they're going to tell you, look, water the plants, mow the lawn, clean it up, fix some things, paint the thing. In this case, the broker is going to say, write the business plan, get the policies in place, get the job descriptions in place. Let's make this thing, put the financial model that makes some sense and really validate this. And it's not that hard to do. It just takes doing. But the broker really can't do it. The owner has to do it themselves. But to sell that business, it does wonders to be successful with that.
I mean, this is like your own virtual business accelerator. I mean, depending on the package they choose, they can pay monthly, yearly, I mean, even a lifetime subscription. I mean, Burke, you love it when good companies succeed. What future plans for your company are that you hope for? I mean, how can investors or others get involved in your mission and what you're doing?
Well, there's a lot to be done here. We want to put in AI, even though I kind of rail against AI in certain applications, but the AI can do things. We can make the AI do stuff and help you really pare down the content for specific businesses or industries. So that's a part of it. A lot of it really is reaching out to people and expanding our marketing to reach out to more people. We can, the brokers, there's investment bankers, there's all the SBA lenders, and the SBA lenders get paid when their loans get funded, but you got to have a business plan with the application for the SBA loan. Everybody wins if you get the money sooner. So you get the startups with a real plan to pitch investors they need to learn something too. Teaching business. I mean, there's all these different places there's all these different channels to go to reach out to. And it's all the same product, the same system that can do it. So there's marketing to those guys. And, there's just the ongoing keeping the policies up to date and current. And really, again, making sure they're emotionally intelligent. And then I like to take on things like other countries. Start out with countries that speak English, but they do stuff differently in Australia and they do stuff differently in the UK. Some of that stuff I think we could all learn from. What if you could choose the best policies and procedures and practices from different places around the world? Now, I'm kind of off in the weeds with that, but that's, what about that? And so we can help countries, even developing countries. I have a plan I've talked to several countries in Africa where here's a deal where I will offer a site license for the entire country. And now this is pretty bizarre, but they could. So like Nigeria, Kenya, several other countries there, they could for the whole population. And how many more they could teach entrepreneurship in a very big way, very quickly to these people, and they would generate more revenue for the country, more GDP for the country, and ideally pay us a percentage of the taxes they collect.
I think that's a great way for business owners out there to give back, really invest in that type of education for people. I mean, Burke, with $5,000 of your grandma's money, you began your business journey. I mean, this all started out with a client who needed to win This is a client who needed to win over Apple, and you came forward.
Right.
You now offer tools to others to accelerate their business while staying true to their vision. Does this continue to be really rewarding for you?
Yeah, it is, because I keep seeing these great ideas, and sometimes I see ideas, I go, oh, come on, you gotta, and sometimes you meet a person who's got a great idea, you go, you're not the jockey for this, and they're gonna fall off but for the most part, they can become the jockey for it, because, horse races are won by a nose, and the difference between Olympic gold and silver is often 1/100th of a second, or could be as much as 1/100th of a second, or as little as 1/100th of a second. So the details matter. That's the point of that. The details matter, and you can learn this. You really can, and you can just start solving the problem. And I've had people who you'd think they really don't have the education to do it. We had a lady up in Canada buy the pet shop she worked for from the owner, and she beat out 6 large companies who wanted that space in the mall, and she bought the pet store because she used the business plan. And she says, I had no idea what I was doing, but she learned what to do. And that makes all the difference in the world. So if you've got a 200 mile per gallon carburetor or something like that, let's see it. That's really what keeps me going. There's these ideas, whether the medical products or whatever they are,
And that's exciting. It's really the equalizer for small businesses. We're talking that business plan is an equalizer to make their dreams come true, get out there and present it in a way where people want to be involved in your company. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is their website. On the website, see all the tools they offer, and read the great reviews from many who have accessed the most flexible, best-selling business planning and management template available today. Once again, that is Business Power Tools. Welcome to the future of your business. This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.